All right, what's up, peoples? What's up, peoples? What's up, peoples? It's your boy MM2K back with another one. You know what I'm saying? I know this is like some crazy stuff. I did a stream yesterday, a live stream yesterday. I'm doing another stream today. Normally, y'all don't hear from me on the weekends because my wife be going crazy, holding me hostage in the basement like this is Don't Breathe or something. You know what I'm saying? But as you can see in the title, I have a special guest with me. The one, the only. Bl00di3. What's going on, man? How you feeling, man?
Oh, I'm feeling good. What's up with you, Moss? It's always good to be out here with you, showing everyone the peoples, sharing the love, showing our knowledge.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I appreciate you, and even though I flaked on you last night, man, I'm glad that you're the bigger man, and you said, "Yo," even though you flaked on me, you felt me. MM2K, I'm gonna come through today. I appreciate that, man.
Ah, man, it's no big deal. Like I said, it was going to be a big show, but people had things come up at the last minute. There were scheduling conflicts. I ain't one to hold a grudge on anything, man. People have come through for me before. One time ain't gonna be anything to make me hate you, man. Like I said, man, if you haven't seen the episode, check it out. I told you, I backpacked the boys and showed off what I could do, my knowledge for an hour and a half.
That's what's up, man. Hey, yo, I'm letting you know right now. Man, you almost me missing that episode, man, almost made me get a divorce last night, man. Oh man, I was talking about this episode all week because it was we you know when Bloodsport came out. That's one of my favorite movies. Like if you look at my tag on Xbox Live, I got "You're Next," which is the line from what's his name? Bolo, is that Bolo?
Yeah.
Okay, from Bolo and Bloodsport, where he's like, after he kills the dude, "You're next," and that's my favorite line, you know. And
mine was just one of my favorite lines from him is when him and Frankie are gonna fight right there, the last fight, man. He's just like, "I bricked you like I bricked the brick."
Yes, absolutely, man. There's just like so much stuff about that goddamn movie, man. I was just like, wow, you know, that may sound cheesy, you know, but you know, when you experience the movie for what it was and what it did for the martial arts movie scene, man, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. And you go back and you can watch that show now, right? Or you could go back and watch that movie now. Yeah, you could see where the choreography is a little cheesy, but if you take back and look at it from the perspective of this was the 80s and what it was, it is phenomenal. Like, absolutely. I still love it to this day. And just rewatching that final fight scene, like you can rewatch it even on YouTube, and it's still a great fight scene even now.
Yep, absolutely. And what it did too, Knux, is it made Westerners like us feel like, holy shit, we could do some martial arts too, man. We just train like Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know, because up until then, really, I mean, we had Chuck Norris and we had Christine Garothera, I think her name was.
Yeah.
But the mugs was kind of cheesy, man. Jean-Claude Van Damme showed that flash that you seen come out of Asia. You know what I'm saying? With his style.
Yep, and that's what really helped push the martial arts and fighting genre to the front, because after that, or right around that time, you know, we had Karate Kid, of course. We had Bloodsport with Jean-Claude, and then you saw a little bit more from you know, Sylvester Stallone and some of his action films and stuff.
Absolutely, man. That was very integral, and the fact that I missed that, man. Like I said, my wife sabotaged me, man. You almost caused a divorce over Bloodsport, man. But with that being said, I thank everybody for joining. We got 4 watching right now. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it'll grow. Here's why I had to bring in the illustrious Bl00di3 here. You know what I'm saying? Now, as you all know. Now, and I want y'all to calm down, relax. We're not going to beat the same dead horse. We're going to leave that for that discussion as it was for another podcast. We're going to touch on it a little bit. We're going to talk about some other things. But if you have been following me, Neethles, and particularly Z from Broadband Bullies, we've been giving our spiel about what we think about the direction Phil is taking Xbox in and why we in particular are not fans of it. Now, with that being said, you got people like my man Bl00di3, you know what I'm saying, my man Xbox Juice, Post Up, some other cats that are like, oh, whoa. You guys are jumping out the window over nothing. Just stay tuned. Everything is going to be okay. You You know what I'm saying? There's going to be some good stuff coming. We like the direction that's going on. We're having a discussion within the community. And like I always tell people, this is how you flourish, you know, as far as your understanding of things, for one, and for two, how you help flourish the company by cementing what you want to them instead of just leaving everything in their hands, you know, helping them keep some guardrails up so they know which direction to stay in. Now, I'm not saying cripple and hampering their whole creative process, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying if they're going too far into the weeds, this is how you pull them back, by having discussions like this, you know what I mean? So this is important for the whole gaming community. But there's a couple things that have happened over time. Since that are, let's just say, for lack of a better term, disgruntled over things that Phil has done. There's been some things that have been happening since we voiced our opinions. Z said it himself on the podcast. Somebody threatened to knock him clean out his Pumas. You know what I'm saying? I had to send a man some mace through FedEx, and now I'm trying to get him a guard dog, a CNI dog too. You know what I'm saying? Just in case he sprays the mace backwards. You know what I'm saying? And blinds his own stuff. I'm gonna get him a guard dog, and it's gonna be a hybrid, a guard dog and a CNI dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm getting some crazy DMs too. I was rapping to my man Bl00di3, and I'm gonna shut up and let him elaborate on it, and then we're gonna talk about some specific things. I've been getting some DMs too, like, you guys are toxic, you know, you guys are trying to kill the Xbox brand. Who sent y'all? Where do y'all come from? Y'all are plants, y'all ain't true, y'all ain't all this other stuff. And then the even more crazy things is that are from the ponies, okay? The ponies that are in the community that are saying, see, we told you, Sony is the better product. Come to Sony. And I'm like, hold on, Chief. No, y'all got this all twisted here. Okay? We're going to break some things down for you today so you can understand where we're really coming from. You still may not agree with me, Nethos, and Z, but there are some things that we can come together on both sides of the coin to make what we are saying very clear. You know what I'm saying? Whether you oppose us or you agree with us. So I'm going to shut up on that tone, and I'm going to let my man Bl00di3, you know, give his thoughts on what's been going on as of late.
You know, I've been hearing some of the stuff that you even talk about in the community, and I don't understand why. Like, as a fan, you know, as someone who's been very active, yes, I do understand where the frustration in certain aspects come, but people fail to see what changes are being done and how it's helpful. And when we do get stuff, people don't acknowledge it or anything. Like, people fail to understand that. And this month alone, we're getting we got 3 things, right? Mm-hmm. People aren't talking about Deep Rock Galactic. The people who are talking about it talk about how it's an amazing, fun game, and I got to play with it. That's cool. It's Minecraft meets Left 4 Dead, mm-hmm. and that aspect, and just complete bonkersness with everything, because you have a class-based system. You have like crafting because you have to go and get resources. It's procedurally generated caves, right? But it's survival because you're fighting bugs in these caves, and it's dark as hell. You're trying to survive. It's you and 4 people. It's fun. It's a co-op game that hasn't been had since the days of Left 4 Dead. And yet no one's talking about it. But the people who are being vocal about it, but everyone else isn't acknowledging it. Next week, we're getting the Darwin Project on early access, and people have been talking about that because it's a battle royale game that's completely unique from everything else. We're getting it right along PC because it's only going to be in early access on Xbox, and everyone that's played that has been in love with it. Then a week after that, we're getting Sea of Thieves. 3 big games, Sea of Thieves being the AAA, if everyone's put it, and 2 really big indie games, and no one's talking about that, right? Mm-hmm. Because of the fact that it's not a big name and no one's going to acknowledge it, this, and that. Shut the hell up. Seriously, they're giving you stuff, but you're not acknowledging it. That's the issue I have, is when people are getting the content, but it's not what they want, so they don't acknowledge it. So that's what leads into this whole Xbox has no games narrative. It's not true. We have plenty of stuff, but people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And here's the thing. Okay, just to cement my issues as I'm trying to fix my screen here because it's a little off, a little crazy. Okay, well, let's do that. That looks a little bit better because you ain't got that big old gray thing sitting on the side. All right, so here's Here was our issue, or my issue. My issue was as far as Phil's actions and his directions that were moving away from the grit. As I tell my audience, I'm a very superficial person. At the end of the day, I just want to see people get kicked, punched, and stabbed, okay? And that's what brought me to the Xbox. Just wasn't the kick, punching, and stabbing, but in the presentation that it was brought forth, there was more Western developers that came up. Big up to 6996 in the chat. Big up to Chris 2 in the chat, you know what I'm saying? And what I hear from Phil is that he's more focused. He's focused less on the grit, more on the connection, and we're seeing things based upon that. And that kind of concerns me because I want the Xbox brand to expand, not to do a switcheroonie. So that's my concern. So we can have that. We done had that discussion. We done beat that horse 1,000 times, and then we probably might beat it a couple more. You know what I'm saying, going into the next week. But I want to follow on what Bloody Knux is saying. In no way, shape, or form are am any of us saying that Xbox is a horrible brand. We're just peering into the future, giving our thoughts of directions. None of us know what's going to happen. All we're doing is waving our fingers in the air to try to test the temperature. Nobody's psychic here. Nobody's Cleo. And if you was Cleo, then you know what I'm saying, your ass be sitting in jail. All right? So with that being said, my issue is with the people that are listening to this. First and foremost, understand that dissension is the number one necessity in having a flourishing discussion. What does that mean in English? That means you can't move forward anywhere if everybody agrees, if you're preaching to the choir. Now, I get it, and Nethos brought up a very good point. I get it. The Microsoft brand has been dogged, and it's been dogged what's up, Trustin Judas? It's been dogged unrighteously. There was shit that Sony did at the beginning of this generation that was overblown. They were given the love and the accolades out of the sky over something that just didn't exist. Like, for instance, and your boy, Bloody Knux, what's his name? The dude from X-Play, that used to be on G4.
Adam Sessler.
Adam Sessler. Adam Sessler fell victim to it. Do your homework. Adam Sessler said, look, man, and look, Adam Sessler, at the end of the day, I used to watch X-Play every day when it came on, when I got home.
Him and Morgan Webb back on the days of G4. I'm right there with you, man.
Absolutely. I used to watch him every day. There is no bigger Sony enthusiast than Adam Sessler. This dude did one episode of X-Play where he almost burst out in tears. Please, y'all ain't giving the PlayStation 3 a chance. Give it a chance. It's a great console. We know the price is high, but just give it. This dude was going berserk, man. And you ain't never heard nobody say, oh my goodness, give the Xbox One X a chance. It's the same price now. You got EA access. You know what I'm saying? You're getting all these deals. You got the Xbox One X. Give it. You never heard anybody break down like that. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, there was some bias. There's definitely some bias. Now, even Adam Sessler, with all of his his PlayStation enthusiasm, he was even given a shaft by Sony because what he said wasn't glorifying the Sony brand like everybody else. He wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid. This dude said himself, he said, look, man, forget what Digital Foundry is saying. Forget all this other stuff. We have been able to look at things. The gap between the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 is not that grand. Let's look at the games. Let's look at what's being provided on the game front to make our full evaluation. I'm tired of this garbage. Sony, when are you sending us our kits? So he was basically saying, get the fluff out of here. We want to deal with the real stuff. And because he did that, because he wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid, he got blackballed. He got blackballed to where, I don't know, he's scrubbing the oil off of endangered ducks and oil slicks or something. I don't know what this dude is doing. But no, he's running some type of advisory board somewhere. But he's got pushed away from his love in gaming because of that bias. And let me explain something to y'all. If y'all don't believe that there's bias out here, there's plenty of it. And here's why. This generation that are writing these op-eds, that are writing these technical specs and all this other stuff, they grew up in the PlayStation generation. I used to have a girlfriend that had a nephew, or had a cousin, I'm sorry. And this guy was, me and him didn't get along. But one time we were talking, I was like, man, what's your favorite video game of all time? And he's like, Final Fantasy VII. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, man. You ain't got to get all excited. Why is it your favorite game? Oh, because there's blood and death and death and blood and blood. And I was like, okay, man, that's cool. Okay, I got you. But I was like, what about Final Fantasy VI? I said, there were some games that preceded that, like Chrono Trigger. I'm not trying to hear that. Final Fantasy VII. And there were the reason why I brought that up is that there were a lot of people in that era that just fell head over heels with the PlayStation. They were younger guys, and they were not trying to hear anything else. That guy included. He's now a developer, I believe. Last time I talked to his mom, he's a developer. These are the people. These are the people within the community now that are having to say so in a lot of things, like within the journalistic community. You know what I'm saying? So. And PlayStation has made this passionate for these people, and they have influenced them to go into journalism and stuff like that, and gaming journalism. So because of that, we got to be mindful that, hey, these are the people flooding the community right now. They are the ones that are, putting the words out there and putting the articles out there right now. And then even though it's not biased to them, for somebody that disagrees with them, it's definitely biased. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that, Bloody Knux?
It is. And, I grew up with Sony, because of the fact that when I was growing up, I was in the 90s, right? So that's when PlayStation 1 first came out on the scene. Of course, I had a Genesis. There was Super Nintendo, N64. But a lot of people were growing up on that Sony, but people fail to understand, like you were saying, everyone hails Final Fantasy VII as the greatest. It's not. It isn't. It was the first one to do 3D. I'll say that. And it really showed off what the PlayStation could do, but it wasn't the greatest. 6 is still one of the best stories out there, in my opinion. But everyone has their own different opinions on that. But the fact is that they don't fail to recognize what the others have done. That's the big thing, is that they don't acknowledge and show what the others have done in this aspect. And that's what kills it for me. And that's why you really can't take a lot of what people say at their word, because the fact that we saw the bias, and we have to be honest here too as well, Moss, is that there was a little bit of bias back in the 360 and PS3 days, that a lot of people were giving a little bit of hate more towards Sony, not as much as we see on the Xbox, but there was some, and there was a lot of people who were talking about how great the 360 was, because the 360 was a great achievement for what it did coming from the Xbox.
But to the 360. You know what? Not to cut you off, Bloody Knux. That disappointment was more. It was more disappointment than it was bias. It was disappointment, like, Sony, come on, what are you doing? Like how I said Adam Sessler was sitting almost in tears on X-Play. He's like, what are you doing? You guys are Sony. You had 70% market share. Y'all could do better than this. Come on. It was more like they were rooting for their favorite football team, but they were disappointed they couldn't get past the 30-yard line. You know what I'm saying? Opposed to now, it's like, okay, this is the opposing football team. We hate you, and you're not number one again. You know what I'm saying? And we're loving it. We're loving it. Your compute units are 30% lower and all this other simple crap. When, like Adam Sessler said, when you look at by the naked eye, this is what I don't understand. Okay, and I don't want people to think I'm flip-flopping here. It's not, I hate the Xbox brand. I have some issues about the direction under Phil. But with that being said, here's what I don't understand. When the Xbox and the PlayStation 4 brands were presented this generation, there was a 20, maybe 25% visual difference on compute units and all other stuff. Everybody swore on the PlayStation side that the difference was so grand. You now have what? It's a 40% increase by the Xbox One X. On UHD TVs, 4K TVs. Oh, no. Ain't none of their games looking better than Horizon Zero Dawn. Get the hell out of here. Again, not saying Horizon Zero Dawn looks horrible.
No,
Horizon Zero Dawn looks great.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and to Guerrilla Games, they really made use of the checkerboarding and dynamic resolution. But if people are going to go out there and claim that dynamic resolution is better than native, get out.
Absolutely,
Get out.
It is what it is. It's great. And look, Guerrilla Games
did amazing with the technology that they had. They did amazing.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That's what I'm saying, is that they did amazing with the technology and the engine that they had. I give them all the praise that they deserve. But people who are going to claim that that dynamic is better than native and understanding what it is, no, shut up. You obviously don't know. I was like, I'm not hating Guerrilla Games. I give them so many achievements because they do get a lot of accolades and respect because they deserve it. They proved what they can do. And that's what I'm getting at, is that they deserve the respect. But people who are claiming that they can see or can't tell this difference between not even 2K to true 4K, no.
Neverland said, stop hating on Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'm not hating on it, Neverland. I love what Guerrilla Games has done. Like I said, it's a great game in its own right. It's not groundbreaking, but it's a phenomenal game. I do respect it and what Guerrilla did.
Yep. Here's what I'm going to say about Horizon Zero Dawn. Let me be very clear. Guerrilla Games reminds me of Epic without them being epic. Let me explain myself. All right. Guerrilla Games, when they were acquired by Sony, they were acquired because Sony saw them and said, wow, these guys are very talented and they're very in depth with their technology. The things that they were able to do, even with Killzone 1 on the system, like if you remember, Killzone 1 was like one of the best looking games, period, for PlayStation 2. You know what I'm saying? Because they had this multi-layering technology. And I'm not making this shit up. I'm not blowing this out my ass. There is, I mentioned this yesterday, there's like a 60-page slide that Guerrilla Games had released. And a lot of people overlooked it. Y'all ain't never seen this. Y'all said, oh, Guerrilla Games, we love you. Y'all want to blow them, but y'all know what the hell did they do. You know what I'm saying? There's a multi-layering technique that they use to make visuals pop. And it's a workaround due to insufficient RAM. All right. So they used it more in 2 and more, most definitely in 3. 3 is visually impressive, but they had issues with the RAM. So they upgraded from the current tool, the tool they were using at the time, to this Decima, the same tool that they're using for Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, with that being said, Killzone Shadowfall, the reason why people said that, Guerrilla Games, they really improved from their abilities. They were trash up until then, because look at Killzone Shadowfall and look at Horizon Zero Dawn. And again, what people don't understand is that when Sony had dropped their original specs on the system was only going to have 4 gigs, I think. And then they shot it up to 8 gigs, whatever the case may be. They of memory. They doubled the memory. So the memory the memory limits for Killzone Shadowfall was only half of what the final system was. It was supposed to be a little bit more powerful. So you would have seen that power in the Decima engine had Guerrilla knew what they were dealing with. You fast forward to Horizon Zero Dawn, they made the increases for the specs of the memory, and they started making more assets, while Horizon Zero Dawn looks great. Now, with that being said, as far as gaming is concerned, even though the technology is impressive, the game itself, to me, is mundane. It's silly. And it doesn't do what it was supposed to do. And I think that's because at the last minute, Sony wanted them to make this game open world. If the game was a little bit more linear, I think it would have been fine. But because they watered it down and made it open world, it's mundane for a lot of us. It provided no challenge for me. I got all the way up to level 18 before I even had to, level 14 before I had to even consider boosting up my armor. And I was on the second to hardest setting. So with that being said, Sony has an eye for picking out people that have technical talents. As far as them having an eye for those that have gameplay talents, that's where I beg to differ. And that's why I like the Xbox brand, because it suits my gameplay needs way more on a higher level than Sony has ever done. Okay? I played Uncharted 4 Bloody Knux on the second to hardest setting. I was just arguing with this joker on Twitter today. On the second to hardest setting. You know how many times I died? 5.
How many?
5. To me, that's ridiculous. As someone that has played games like Metroid, Blaster Master, even Donkey Kong, for crying out loud. Come on.
Or if
I
you
want
really
bigger
get
bang
into
out
it,
of my
look.
buck. I don't want to be able to just run through this game in like a week or so. We're paying $60 for these games. So, but with that said, I'm going to shut up. But that's what I'm saying. Like, don't get this twisted. We have people in the community like myself that have some issues with where the future is going, and we're questioning it. But don't think that we're saying in reverse that Sony's the one that has the answers to our needs. Hell no. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna shut up now. Let you finish that thought off.
No, you're not wrong. Because here's the thing: is I have a PS3, right? I've played through the first 3 Uncharted games. I had them all. I played through all 3 Resistance. I played through all the Killzone games that were back there. And you know, Sony does have some decent exclusives, but some of them don't change. Like, I love Uncharted, but it pushed the very high visual and like very blockbuster feel, the high cinematics and stuff, but the actual gameplay itself, it's not that good of a third-person cover shooter at all. And if you go back and play it now, it does not feel good at all. 4, they did a lot of improvements on it, and I give them that. But if you go back, the first one, the gameplay's trash. It's really hard to use it. And don't get me wrong, the story on them were well done, and the cinematics that Naughty Dog put into it were great. They really are. And that's the thing about it, is like you were saying, they hire people who have high technical talent because of the fact that a lot of the stuff comes down to the engines that they use, that they're able to make great engines. Look at it with Quantic Dream, with what they did with Heavy Rain. Great story, great visuals. Gameplay wise, yeah, you're gonna say it doesn't matter because it's an interactive story game, you know, like the Telltale games. But they try to make great use of the DualShock and the 6-axis, and it didn't work that well sometimes. A lot of people had issues with the 6-axis controller. That's why they stopped manufacturing the 6-axis and did a regular DualShock controller. Like, if you're having that many issues of your big, you know, motion control, and then you have to stop because people don't like the way it feels and have to make a regular controller without that, and start pushing all your games without that feature, that says something, you know?
Absolutely. So again, we are saying, when we reference Sony, those of us that are on the dissension side of what Phil's doing, and it's not necessarily what Phil's doing, it's what Phil, Philosopher doing. What's up, bro? It's not necessarily what Phil's doing. It's like what Phil's focus. That's the issue. But don't get me wrong. That's like saying, hey, look, me and Bloody Knuckles are blood brothers, right? And we're getting into an argument. That don't mean I'm gonna let you walk up to him with an M16 and mow him down. No, it's like, you know, we're having an argument right now. We don't see eye to eye on something, and we really are pushing for a certain direction. Those of us in the community that have issues with the direction. But again, there needs to be uniqueness in the community. And this is where I beg to differ with some of my Xbox brethren that are on my side with saying that we want to see that grit. But they're like, oh, but look, I want what Sony has. You can get what Sony has. Get a goddamn PlayStation 4. What the hell are you talking about? I did not get an Xbox so I can say, ooh, these mugs is doing exactly what Sony's doing, but with a bigger box. No, I got an Xbox because they were bringing in games that I was more in tune to, the Western developed, the more PC-like games that, you know, had that edge to it. And again, I am more of a BioShock and a Mass Effect person than I am an Uncharted, and I even dare to say God of War. Again, Mass Effect and BioShock are more up my alley than a God of War even, and an Uncharted, because I am one that likes expansive worlds that have challenge, that bring unique assets and allow you to use those unique assets to overcome the new challenge, and I like grit, and those games provide them. Now, Sony games may have some grit in them. God of War, and can't nobody say that God of War, that what's the fake Kratos ain't gritty or whatever.
No.
My thing is the challenge. The challenge wasn't always there, so it didn't keep my attention. And there are those of us that went to Xbox because we like that culmination of all that: the grit, the challenge, the expansiveness, and the nuance of the type of games that they were bringing. You know what I'm saying? What do you think about that, Knux?
I agree, and coming from my end about it, and you might want to check your TV because it echoed a little bit.
Okay.
But I agree with where you're coming from, right? And that aspect is that Xbox offered more that was where I wanted. And that's not to dog Uncharted. Uncharted had its great aspects. Like I said, it had some of the best visuals for that time on the PS3, as well as God of War. God of War was a very, very fun because of the fact that everyone hates on QTEs, right? But that game was all QTEs, but it was mindless fun. It was literally giving you like power of God to just slay everything.
Absolutely.
And that's the best part of it. But over time, they need to innovate with that. Like you do that across 3 games. Yeah, cool. You add new powers, you add new things, but it's still just the same old. It starts to dry out. We've seen that with every game because a lot of people felt the same way, even with the Gears franchise.
Absolutely.
And that, but we saw over the games, they added new weapons, they added new modes, they added new unique gameplay aspects, and it helped to improve it over time. You know, we saw, and look at when they blew everyone out of the water when they added Horde mode, right? That was such a groundbreaking innovation and mode. Everyone copied Horde mode, and every time Gears came out with a new one, they innovated on their own Horde mode and improved it over and over and over. Look at Horde mode 3.0 or 2.0, whatever we have right now. I think it's 3.0 and Gears 4. That is so cool to have the fabricator and to be able to really make the fortifications more so than you did in 3 and 2, and how you can get crazy with it. And then the class system about it. It's not all cookie cutter from the same thing. Like they improved on it and gave it a lot more fun and depth. And it still has that challenge that people want, you know?
Yep, absolutely. I want to circle back to this, but I want to address one thing too, because I'm looking at it on my piece of paper, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it's burning me up on the inside. You know what I'm saying? But before I get to that, y'all can probably see right now on my screen, my man Xbox Juice, man, he tried to start the Civil War up in here, man. He just dropped a crazy video, but it's dope. He dropped a crazy video where he basically disagrees with me and Z, and he agrees with Bloody Knux that the direction, that the total direction that Phil's going in, he may not agree with every decision, but the direction that Phil's going in, he feels comfortable with. Check out that video, because that's what we're about. We're about having elaborate, intelligent, smart discussions without me having to send my man Z some mace and a CNI/attack dog. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Just relax. This is gaming. But before I circle back to that, what I want to talk about are these falsehoods about the Xbox. Because when I did my video yesterday, Knux, we had my man Mr. Kima come on. I don't know if he dropped me again. He's usually, he'll drop me when he gets tired of what I'm saying. He said I was toxic. But he was bringing up very good points. And, I had my comments about him. But people like Mr. Keem, I can understand where they're coming from. Like, what about potential buyers of an Xbox brand? Like, aren't you doing damage too? And I get where they're coming from. Neverland is crazy. So, I get where they're coming from, because when people announced that Crackdown was being delayed, everybody blew a gasket. And I said, come on, y'all. Y'all need to stop this. This is Crackdown. Like, really? Crackdown? And it's like Crackdown and, what do you call that other game that was really canceled? Scalebound.
Scalebound.
Nobody cared about those games, particularly on the Xbox side, until they got canceled. You know what I'm saying?
And that leads into the narrative of this fake concern that we've been seeing on both sides, on Sony and PlayStation side, or on the Sony and Xbox side. It's like, don't fake it. Don't lie like you gave a crap about it. Like, I was interested in Scalebound because
I was interested. Yeah, exactly.
I do like action RPGs. I do like the Japanese games. But as I stated, when you go 3 years showing that game and it looks the same, that there's no big improvements, it kind of says something. When it got canceled, it sucked, but I kind of felt it was going to happen. But everyone's suddenly saying, oh, God, it's the end of the world. Scalebound got canceled. Shut up. None of y'all was praising it when it first got announced.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? The Philosopher Doom says facts. Exactly. Yeah. It was silly, but it was to help push a narrative. Because you get a lot of people that say, no, it was all about the games. It was all about the games.
No, it wasn't.
Let me explain something to everybody. When PlayStation started pulling ahead 2-1, there was no games that was out for the PlayStation. Microsoft was beating them in games. And everybody said, well, the games were trash. Let me share some numbers. Let Dr. Spread, now I gotta be Dr. Spreadsheets again. Let Dr. Spreadsheets share some numbers with you. Okay. Xbox exclusives opposed to PlayStation exclusives. Xbox exclusives, average Metacritic is like 75.11. PlayStation exclusives are 80-something. 80.6, I think it is. That's less than 5 points. So, what's up, Cyrus? So, when y'all sit here and say this garbage like Xbox games are trash, the general deciding public doesn't believe that. You may have, the top tier, your IGNs, your GameSpots, you know what I'm saying? The Sony D riders that'll get out there and they may trash the games. But once it levels out to the real reviewers, the people that aren't biased, that have no agenda, they score the games fairly. You know what I'm saying? But our problem is we only listen to the top tier, and that's with everything. So you only looking at GameSpot or Game Informer or IGN. But again, all the other reviewers that are under them that score the games fairly. Like, for instance, a Quantum Break. Yeah, those guys scored it a 6 because of that stupid 720p thing. But everybody else was like, oh, no, this ain't no 6. This game is more like an 8. 7.5, maybe, but an 8. You know what I'm saying? So let's push that narrative that Xbox games are totally trash because they're less than 5 points behind what the PlayStation games are as far as their ratings. Also, there's this thing that Xbox has no games. Okay. Currently, or as of 2017, PlayStation 4 had 57 highly anticipated arcade games / AAA titles. That's a lot, okay? As of 2017, I meant. But as of 2017, Xbox had 39 highly anticipated arcade games, AAA titles. Now, you guys will probably say, what the hell you mean by highly anticipated? I threw in there I almost said Little Big Planet, goddamn. Cuphead and Lost Odyssey. Those were highly anticipated arcade games. So that's only a third less. No, not even really a third. It's 31% less than what PlayStation 4 has provided you as far as AAA games and highly anticipated arcade games. So the narrative that Xbox has no games is a farce. What the people on my side of the community are arguing is that the games that are being presented aren't what brought us to the system. But that doesn't mean, again, that doesn't equate to Sony games are phenomenal. And I want to argue again against the people in the community that are on my side of the fence about the Sony games. About the Microsoft games. Yeah, we may want to see more of a Mass Effect and a BioShock, but I hate to do this. God bless him. That's my brother from another mother. D-Batch, I love you, dude. I love you, dude. But the next time you say, PlayStation's just knocking it out the park. Next time I hear that shit from you, bro, I might just go crazy. Because they're knocking it out of the park for people that like those games. But again, what we don't want to see is everybody having the same games. Let PlayStation have those walking simulators and climbing simulators that are Uncharted and Horizon Zero Dawn. We want the sci-fi shooters or the expansive sci-fi shooters. So let's give praise where praise is due. Okay, Horizon Zero Dawn sold 7.5 million. That's great for their fans. But for the Xbox people, we want something that we like, and it doesn't have to be like Sony. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's have some Phil got on this thing and talked about and I want you to, because Bloody Knuckles said something before we got online that was very, very, very enlightening about this. People sat there and praised Phil about his talk about diversity, okay? And how, there needs to be different this and different that. However, you guys are sitting there whining and complaining about why Xbox games aren't like Sony games. Exactly like them. That's not being diverse. I don't want that. I'm complaining because I want the Xbox type games. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? I ran it enough. What are your thoughts on that, Bloody Knux?
No, you're not wrong. Like I said, competition breeds innovation. When everyone's doing the same thing, nothing is unique. Like I said, Horizon Zero Dawn is a great open world game, and may not be for us. It, like I said, it certainly isn't groundbreaking, but it is a great game. It deserves the praise it got. What they should do is look at what made that game good and do their own thing. Don't just copy what Horizon Zero Dawn did. Look at what made it good and do something unique all your own. Like the talks of Fable 4 already, and coming from Playground Games. Playground is great for making open worlds, right? Yep. They've done it with the Horizon games as it is.
Absolutely.
But it's all been driving. Get the people who have technical aspects of building an RPG. You know how to build worlds. You know how to make them beautiful and filled. Put something in it. Make an RPG that's great in what we are used to. If they are doing Fable like the talks are that supposedly that it's going, keep the Fable humor. Keep what made that. Embrace the silliness. Do the dark humor. Don't go over the top like Saints Row. Be unique. Do what you know. Look at what made them great, but don't copy. When you copy, nothing is improving. Yeah, we can look at what Sony has done right, but everyone fails to realize that during the first 3 years, they didn't have a lot of big AAA exclusives coming out. They had a lot of the remastered collections of all their games from the PS3 era. You had the Uncharted collection, you had the God of War collection, you had Last of Us remaster. There were the few ones that were unique. Look at Until Dawn, but that was another interactive movie game, and that. But don't discredit them. Don't do that, because we even had our fair share of remasters. Look at State of Decay, but State of Decay was a golden gem that didn't get enough attention during the 360. And let that be a lesson. This was a 360 game that got highly praised. That Microsoft said, "Well, let's go ahead and go make an entire updated version with all the DLC for that game for the Xbox One." And then they approached Undead Labs and said, "Hey, go ahead and make a sequel. We'll make it exclusive on the Xbox." You don't see that as much on the PlayStation. You don't see that kind of attention. And in the cases that you do in the aspect of No Man's Sky, look at what happened in No Man's Sky. That was honestly a full indie game that was priced as a AAA, and it was lauded by Sony marketing and by Sean himself about everything that was going to include. And when the game came out, there was none of that. And what did Sony do? Oh, we just paid for the marketing. That was all them. We had nothing to do with that. Wipe their hands clean.
Absolutely.
They wiped their hands clean of No Man's Sky. All the marketing for it, they pulled that real quick. That's just like, that wasn't us. You don't see Xbox turning tail when something fails outright. You don't see them saying, "Oh, no, that wasn't us." They take their loss. They take their hit. They're not just gonna turn on the studio like that. Like that's messed up. You don't see that kind of aspect.
My question is to you, Bloody. What do you think would happen if we had a No Man's Sky situation on the Microsoft side? What do you think the reaction would be?
Oh, it would be the worst. It would be literally the most toxic outpouring ever, because people will be like, "Oh, see, Microsoft, they don't care about their studios. They just left them up and abandoned, and they talked up all this, and the game was dog shit and all this and that." No, it's just like, no, they put money into supporting them and publishing it, but it was still the devs. But they're not going to say everything else was the devs and that we had no part of it, that we didn't help, or we didn't do any of the advertising, that was all them, and try and wipe it away. And if they did, it would literally be the worst backlash that they would see since the announcement of the Xbox One. Yep. But you don't see that happening with Sony. Like that's the thing is that's the part about it. And going to Phil's speech about the diversity, we do need that because people want the other systems to fail and they want them to be like pulled out and basically like this system, this brand is done, kill off the console, let there only be this one. Well, if there's only one, then there's nothing going to be fun about it. There's nothing going to be unique because everything will only be on that one thing. And you know that's not the way to do things. With competition, and I've repeated this so many times, but it's true. Competition breeds innovation. When your competitor is doing something right, when something is unique and they're working, you want to learn what they're doing and improve yourself to make a more competitive product to pull people away. So it makes everything improve because people are going to go back and forth. You want to do more than your competitors doing. And we've seen that. It may not be in the games aspect that we want, but they've done so much to turn around the ecosystem of the Xbox after everyone's sour taste back in 2013. And it's great. People don't realize all the amount of services and everything that you get out of the Xbox and how great it is. Like, I understand we want games. I want games. I'm not denying that aspect, but you have to look at what they've done and what they have right now that makes it so worthwhile.
Yeah, I definitely, dude, even though I'm coming from the avenue of, look, I want to see that same grit. Again, I repeat, and I'm not backtracking here. I still have my same complaints, and you'll hear me, bring them up again. But again, this flourishes a discussion, and it helps cement where Microsoft is going to go. The value of my Xbox with the Look, I'm just even simple novice shit like the fact that I ain't got to worry about suffering from a DDoS attack every 5 minutes. Now, people are going to say, hold on, wasn't Xbox just live? But yeah, Xbox Live just down? Yes, it was down.
But wasn't it down for less than 24 hours?
Absolutely. Lizard Squad said themselves, one of the nefarious groups that likes to do those DDoS attacks, they said themselves, when they did that one during the Christmas season a few years ago, they said, damn, Xbox, you made it a challenge for us. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sony, for having your security be dog shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my information on that. As somebody that was already a victim of the 30 million hack last generation that everybody gave Sony a pass on, you know what I'm saying, 2 years later because Sony was doing bundles, you know what I'm saying, in Europe, everybody was like, oh, Sony has made a comeback. So this is what I understand. Sony can compromise 30 million accounts, not upgrade their security until the following gen when they finally got two-way authentication when Steam and Xbox did it and they weren't the ones hacked. You know what I'm saying? They could have all these issues and a couple years later because they gave you Little Big Planet and Infamous and some bundle packs in Europe, they were okay. But Microsoft cannot rebound for what they did in 2013, even though most of that stuff that people had issue with, they canceled before the console even released. That is bias. You know what I'm saying? And again, to Bloody Knuckles' point, yeah, there were people that were like, more heavy on the PlayStation 3's negative side than they were the Xbox 360's, however, now you just see this rah, rah, rah. Yes, Sony, you're doing it again. We're happy. Again, 30 million accounts compromised. Shitstorm of them not being transparent about what was going on. Them not even really securing the situation until this gen. And 2 years later, they can rebound and sell as many consoles as the Xbox 360, even though they still got smashed in software. But what you're trying to tell me is Microsoft deserves shit for something they did in 2013. That's baloney to me. I'm giving Microsoft issues because I don't like the lack of grit in the direction. But that's completely different. That's stupid to me that you're going to focus on 2013. You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts on that, Bloody?
It is stupid because you got to think, how many times has Sony gone down? Multiple times. And how long have those things have been? Let's not forget that back in, 2012, that they were down for almost 3 months. Mm-hmm. And yet Xbox Live is going fine because they know how to build their system. Then there was the Sony breach where they had all those. And then when that happened, they waited an entire week before they told everyone, oh, yeah, everyone's information may have just been stolen.
They were not transparent, yes.
And then not only that, then again after that, they had another outage that lasted about a month. Like every time they've gone down for months at a time. And yeah, you get the people who are complaining about it for the first like 10 minutes. And then after that, they're just like, after the month is up and they get back up, they're like, oh, good job, Sony. But the fact that Xbox Live is down for 24 hours, suddenly they're hated and everything else. No, even when our shit's down, we still have access to basically everything. Most of the time it's always been small things like content issues or live services, but we can still play all of our stuff.
Yep.
Just because we can't connect online to certain games, we still have access to pretty much everything.
Yep.
Even when we're down, we're still better.
I got a broadcast message. You know, when like I said, Xbox services are down. I said, oh shit, let me just try it anyway. Booted it up, no problem. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and in the last outage a few days ago was, I believe it was mainly the East Coast, and they were back up. Everyone else was fine. It's small outages. It's not global and everyone affected.
Where there's like there's no word whatsoever what the hell's going on. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah, and you mentioned the DDoS attacks, right? And that's something that bothered me, because we were talking about this, is that after Phil's speech, there was people who were saying that everything he was saying was a bunch of bullshit, that with the Kumbaya and all this, and that fuck the toxicity, this, and that they were going to DDoS him. That shit right there is exactly what he's talking about. Yeah. Like, just because he said something about clearing out the toxicity and improving everything, you go and threaten to DDoS. That is literally the toxicity he was just talking about. Do you not understand? You're feeding into the hate that he was just mentioning that is bad.
Absolutely. Or how about this? On the flip side of that, which is still true, which I'll give kudos to. I give kudos to Phil for bringing that stuff up. It's just in the presentation style that he did it, I think was abhorrent and was bad. But what he brought up was a good thing to bring up. I personally don't understand the people that are upset with me, Next Gen, or Neethles, you know what I'm saying, or anybody else that, you know, have issues. And they say, you don't like what Phil said on Dice's stage? You're an asshole. I'm going to send you a DDoS attack. That don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's feeding into the toxicity that he brought up, which was a very legitimate point.
Exactly. And Neverland mentioned right here that he remembers getting those free games from Sony after the outage. So you're telling me you're fine with getting the $250 or $60 games or whatever after paying, at this point, that's when they started doing the PlayStation Plus heavily. Yeah, and you're paying for these online services, and your information's been your online services is down for this amount of time. So you can't even play some of those games online because there were a lot of online multiplayer shooters and stuff at that time, as well as the fact that you're paying for a service and they don't protect your information. What kind of information or okay is that? Like what is with that information?
Absolutely. I mean, you got to really think about that. I mean, this is like real life shit. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I get it. You know, we love our video games. This is our hobby and all that other stuff. But, you know, you can't even enjoy the hobby if you don't take care of the real life stuff. All right. And this is real life stuff. Like me personally, because both of my kids were on my account, my PlayStation account, it took me days. And I didn't fully recover for months because I would have these miscellaneous charges from Walmart and Spain and all this other shit based upon that. You know, it took me a long time for me to get that cleared up. So, how can you for those of you that are dogging Microsoft, this is why I said where Next Gen says, I said Big Gen, goddamn. Next Gen says, take the biggest knife out of the drawer, let's cut the bullshit out. Okay. For those of you that have dogged Microsoft and think, oh, we're doing it legitimately because, you know, Next Gen's doing it, Neethles is doing it, MM2K, whoever's doing it, so we're legitimate in our beef. I want to know where you were at when Sony, like Knuckles said, just gave you Infamous, just gave you Little Big Planet, and did not secure up their two-way authentication till this gen. Where were you at? Because I was there saying, there's no way in hell. It took me a long time to get a PlayStation 4. And even when I got one and got the Pro, I don't go online with my credit card information. I re-up on the cards. That's a ridiculous inconvenience for me. You know what I'm saying? So because of that, I just want to know, is the goose, whatever's good for the goose is good for the gander? Where were you guys at when that happened to Sony, and Sony did not fix their issue until the following gen. Even though I want to say 85% of Microsoft's issue that people had, that they were mad about in 2013, they took care of before the console launched. So if you weren't there simultaneously, mad about the real world shit, then you kind of look fraudulent trying to ride up on our backs and shit, try to saddle up with us, complaining about this Microsoft thing. You know what I mean? That's just where I'm coming from. I think we can pretty soon wrap this up. Before we wrap this up, though, Bloody Knux, any final thoughts about that?
Yes, I do, and this has been brought up by a few people that I know, is that people fail to see that what Sony's doing now is literally everything that Xbox was going to do at the generation.
Absolutely.
Like they have the View service, right, which is their TV service. They have their camera with the Sony motion controllers and everything now for the VR. Now, don't get me wrong, that camera is better than the Kinect was, but it's still a camera with their bundling now with the VR and everything else, and then they had the little sharing stuff. So it's okay that Sony is doing everything that Microsoft wanted to do, and they're hailed as heroes, but Microsoft is still hated. Like right after people don't understand, like Microsoft was going to give you the option to share your games, all your digital games, with a family of 10 friends that you could have, that you could all share your libraries together.
Yep.
And that's bad. And yet after they pull that out, like a couple months later, Steam does that with the family sharing and theirs, and suddenly Steam's a goddamn hero.
Yep.
Like Microsoft with what they're trying to do, because they have the technology and computer aspects, they know how to do things like that. They're ahead of their time, just like Sega was back in the day. Sega tried to do so much. Like Sega was the first ones to try and do an online game with the Dreamcast, to do potential DLC way back then, but people weren't feeling it. They were feeling the N64 and everything else. So Dreamcast died out.
Yep.
Microsoft is still keeping steady with the Xbox, and they're pushing and innovating more so. But every innovation people don't want. But they fail to understand is that they've slowly been getting us acclimated to that aspect over the generation, with the free games, all digital, with Game Pass, all digital, and a lot of the big sales now that they are capable of doing for like Black Friday and a lot of their big end of year sales, summer sales, spring sales, similar to Steam, they're pushing digital, and people are being more, and we've seen that transition to digital has been more fine. Everyone was afraid of it back in 2013. Now we're seeing that digital is all anyone's going for. Yes, there's going to be people who are physical. I like physical only because I like physical collector's editions. If it doesn't have a physical collector's edition, digital I go. If it does, I will buy physical and then later upgrade to digital. Like there's so much stuff that Microsoft was trying to do that a lot of people hated them now that they're doing, and they're doing it now and they don't realize it, and yet Sony's doing it blatantly and they're okay with it. Like that's the kind of blindsided fanboyism that I don't understand.
Absolutely. Chris in the chat says, I mean, everyone has a preference, but there's no real reason why you have to only choose one console. I mean, if I had my way, I'd have PSN, Xbox, and Nintendo, plus a Sega, because Sega was my childhood. That's the thing, man. Look. At the end of the day, you like what you like. I got into it with this doof on. I hate to say this about people, but I got into it with this doof on Twitter, and I said, look. And the reason why I said this is not to make my man Neverland mad in the chat, but to say that I can be objective even though I don't like something. I said Horizon Zero Dawn is trash and made me want to throw up in my mouth when I was playing it, blah, 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 blah. With that being said, 7.6 million, which equates to a 10% attach rate right now, is hellified impressive. And even though I don't like the game, Sony delivered on what their fans expected. I just want to see Microsoft do the same thing. Not give us a Horizon Zero Dawn, but I want to see them deliver on what the fans expect. So I was giving kudos. But again, like you said, Bloody Knux, there are people out there that are so embedded in this fanboy war, they got to pound their chest because they're shallow on the inside. What? You don't like what I like? Even though I'm giving it kudos. Even though I don't like the shit and I'm giving it kudos. What? You don't like it? Oh, you're an Xbot. No, dumbass. I've played Uncharted. I've played all of the Sony first party games. They don't challenge me. I can beat, and I don't even play the system that much. So therefore, me not playing the system that much, I have to reacclimate myself with the controls. There is no reason why I should be playing Uncharted 4 on the second to hardest setting, and I only die 5 times. To me, that is ridiculous. However, if that's what you Sony fans want, great. That's what Sony's giving you, and that's fine. I'm convinced at this point in time right now, I hate to do the Sony badge, but I'm convinced right now that Yoshida can get up on the stage. He can shit on a popsicle stick, throw that mug around, and hand it to somebody in the front row and say, the PlayStation 5. Someone will look at it and they'll be like, okay, well, where does the HDMI cord goes? And they'll start clapping and shit. You know what I'm saying? I am convinced, but that's me as a gameplay challenge enthusiast. You know what I'm saying? But if you want that shit on a popsicle stick, Yoshida is giving it to you. What I want from Microsoft is what I want them to be focused on. I get they want to do the Connect thing and all this other stuff, you know, and close to Phil Spencer. So I know they're doing all that, but I want to see them focus on the grid too. But the thing that I want, my message to the community, the gaming community, and that babble, my message to you guys is, understand that everything does not have to be the same. And because something else is different, it doesn't mean that it's trash that nobody should pick up. I would never tell anybody to not pick up Horizon Zero Dawn. I would first ask you, what are your likes? And if you said, oh, I love all the Sony first-person games, I love them to death, I'm going to say, oh, well, then Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be your thing. You know what I'm saying? That's right up your... I would never tell somebody to pick something up purely based off because I don't like it. I'm just going to give you the reasons why I don't like it. And if you can't accept it, then you're just going to have to deal with it because I'll argue you down. But I will never tell someone, don't buy a PlayStation 4. I think the PlayStation 4 is one of their best machines. They did a hell of a lot of impressive improvements from the PlayStation 3. It's not for me. It's not for me. So those are my thoughts. So before we close out Bloody Nuts, you have any final thoughts you want to share with the peoples out in the community, man?
Yeah, you're not right. Like, everyone has their preference, and to go with what Chris was saying is, yeah, everyone's gonna have their preference. But me, I have as many consoles as I have. I have a PS3, I have a PS2, I have a Wii, I have a 360, I have a Switch, and I have the Xbox One. I currently don't have a PS4. I still have my N64, right, and my PlayStation 1 packed up. I have everything. I've been playing for as long as I can. I personally like the Xbox ecosystem, but I do enjoy what Sony does. I do enjoy what the PlayStation offers. I just don't support Sony as a company. And I've made that standpoint many times, is that I don't support what their business decisions are, because the fact that it's even against their own devs at certain times. But what their studios do is phenomenal. I give them that respect. They deserve a lot of the praise. Their studios are some of the best talent in the industry. There's no denying that. But again, I will not support their company. I do want a PS4. However, I will not buy a brand new one to support Sony.
Yeah,
I will buy the games brand new to support the devs, but I will not buy a console brand new. If anyone's got to use one, I'll buy that. If it's free, I will take it. But I'm not going to go out and buy one.
Absolutely. No, I you know what? I don't blame you.
But I do agree. You're right. It is one of the best systems that they've done. The PS3 wasn't that impressive over the PS2.
Yeah.
It was nowhere near. But the PS4 is significantly better than the PS3 was. And we know too that the Xbox One wasn't that much of an improvement over the 360. Any true Xbox fan will know that. It wasn't that big of a step up. It was very minor. Whereas the One X and the One S, those are miles ahead of what the base console ever was.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when Phil got on stage. Now, here's one time Phil got on stage and said something that I think didn't get enough attention, and it was actually laughed at when it shouldn't have been laughed at. And I wish he would have been a little bit more forceful and a little bit more about, like, hold on, motherfucker, this is real. When they were talking about the Xbox One X and they were trying to compare it to the PlayStation 4 Pro, he was like, oh, whoa, hold your horses, chief. Ain't nothing out there console wise that's going to rock with the Xbox One X. Let's just end this discussion right now. I put the Xbox One S more on par with the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, people heard that and they was like, whoa, hold on, what's wrong with you, Phil? You're crazy. You did this, that, and that. You know, they laughed it off and said, oh, he's just doing damage control, whatever. Now, when I got my Xbox One S, the Xbox One S has the UHD upscale, right?
Yep. It supports the 4K streaming.
Absolutely. And I remember seeing that. I was like, holy shit, this is phenomenal. And then when I saw that, because I had no intentions of getting a PS4 Pro. And I was at the GameStop where I rapped to a good friend of mine. He's a PlayStation dude. And I was like, yo, B, can I get that? I want that PlayStation 4 Pro. He's like, no, man. He's like, look, I'm telling you, didn't you just come here and get an Xbox One S? I'm like, yeah, man, but these graphics, I'm fiending for, man. That PlayStation 4. He's like, look, bro, I'm telling you, the PlayStation 4 Pro on a consistent basis is not that far ahead of the Xbox One S. I said, dude, you sound like Phil Spencer. You done hit your head in the back or something putting up some consoles. Get me that PlayStation 4 Pro. Dude had to go to like 3 stores. He finally got me a PlayStation 4 Pro. So I had Uncharted 4 at the time, and I was doing my Uncharted 4 review. I bought that PlayStation 4 Pro home. I hooked it up to my UHD TV. I looked at it. I was like, hold on, what? Turned it on. I was like, what's going on here? And this was Uncharted 4, people. I was like, it looks good, but it's not that great. So then I had Gamefly. I went and got Prey. All right. For both systems. Plugged them in, looked at them. It's like, this is not the upscale that I was looking for. What the hell is this? I've been duped. But even the PlayStation guy that works at GameStop tried to tell me that the PlayStation 4 Pro is not in comparison to the X. And with that being said, that is something that Phil Spencer noted to us. He did try to tell the community, and it is true. So on that note, Bloody Knux, what you said is absolutely right. The Xbox One S is a hell of a machine. And if you're looking for consistent, good fidelity for a cheap price, and you're interested in Xbox games, get an S. You know what I'm saying? If you want to take it to that whole nother level that blows everything away, then get an X. If you only could choose one, I would have to ask you what your gaming preferences are. And if they're more in line with mine, like if you like Bethesda games, if you like BioShock, Mass Effects, if you like those innovative titles that have a challenge, I'm going to tell you to get an S. If you like the PlayStation games, then I'm going to tell you to get a Slim. But one thing I will never recommend for you. Now, this is one thing I will tell you because I am a consumer advocate. I will never, ever recommend a PlayStation 4 Pro unless you're getting VR. And I know I sound like a hypocrite because I said I would never tell anybody to buy anything, but I'm letting you know as a consumer advocate, if you don't have VR, do not get a PlayStation 4 Pro. It is a waste of your money because even Digital Foundry said it themselves that the performance game to game for the PlayStation 4 Pro is not consistent. Any thoughts on that, Bloody Knux, before we get out of here?
No, it's true. The performance for the Pro is not consistent. Even with the games that they say are their enhanced 4K titles, none of them hit the resolution or performance that they should be. Now, that's not to say that the Xbox is innocent. No, they have games that are enhanced, absolutely, that claim to be 4K that aren't always hitting that. But a majority of them, at least half of them, are hitting 1800 and up. And some of those go to 1800 because of the fact that they put the rest of the memory into everything on the screen. And we saw that early on. Look at what Dead Rising 3 was capable of doing, yet you didn't have a game on the PlayStation that was able to have that many enemies on the screen at one time. Absolutely. You know?
Yep.
And that's where it comes down to. If you have VR, PS4 is the way to go. The Pro is definitely the aspect because it's a VR machine. It is not a Absolutely. 4K machine, not even dynamic 4K machine. It is a VR machine through and through.
Absolutely. Well, that's it, folks. And I'll let Bloody Knux have the last word. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I just felt like I had to clear the air because I thought it was getting a little bit out of control as far as the responses that we were getting. First and foremost, you're allowed to have dissension in a community. and you know it fosters good discussion and the good discussion like this. I didn't threaten Bl00di3's household and said I was going to set his house on fire. He didn't say he was going to kick my kids in the shins. You know what I'm saying? We had a discussion. We come from opposite sides of the tracks, but one thing that we can on this issue but what we can agree to is that Xbox is our preferred console. And it's a preferred console because of X reasons. You know what I'm saying? And they're legitimate reasons. And for those of you that think that everybody has to be pro Microsoft, no, they don't have to do it. Like Nethel said in his excellent video, BGST, which is one of the most quote unquote loved podcasts out there, everybody was mad at BGST for shedding the light on this BS about PlayStation and about how people were just in love with PlayStation and saying things fantastic about them that just did not exist. Those same people that applauded that effort would kind of be hypocritical if they did not in turn just shed light on some of the issues in the community about Xbox. So dissension is always good as long as it's structured and as long as we can talk it out and have meaningful and intelligent conversations is a good thing. On a second note, those of you that are just Xbox haters, we're not feeding you ammunition. No, in no way, shape, or form am I telling nowhere on this planet would I ever tell somebody to get a Sony instead of an Xbox, nor would I tell them to get a goddamn Switch. Hell no. So, with that being said, I think we're going to close out. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank everybody.
Yeah. Neverland said most hated. Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah. Most hated, not most loved, most hated.
Most hated what?
When you're talking about BGST.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's actually, I was being sarcastic. Yeah. It's the most hated because of, what they were representing. Yeah, and again, it would be hypocritical to me to
absolutely. But to put in the last word here is that you're right. Dissension and discussion is needed, but discussion needs to happen when it's clear and concise and everyone has valid points to make, not just I feel this way and everything you're saying is wrong. That's not discussion. Yeah, that's just vitriolic conversation, and that can get out of here. Absolutely. Discussion is everyone brings a point, everyone brings their own information, makes points, and discusses it civilly. It needs to be clear and concise. That's what helps. You see that a lot on the Xbox side because of the fact that a lot of us like it. Other people don't like what we're going. And we have those conversations. Yes, there's going to be the people who are more aggressive and toxic about it because of the fact that they're going to say, oh, I hate this, I hate that, I hate everything else. Okay, well, you're not contributing to the conversation to help it grow. Whereas you don't necessarily see it on the Sony. And if there is any, and anyone's free to show, if there is any discussions like this on the Sony side, I would love to see it because of the fact that it needs to happen on all sides.
I've heard people say that backwards compatibility should be brought, but this generation, I really haven't seen any distinction about anything on the Sony side. And if they bring up something like, oh yeah, that's stupid that Sony did. So next thing, Xbox did this and that, you know what I mean? Like, you guys got to get out of your silos and stop beating your chest just because somebody's number one in selling. That's not putting anything in your pockets. It's not bringing you any innovation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'll dog Microsoft when they are number one. I was dogging them at the end of the 360 era because I was like, what the hell is this Kinect shit? Why are you doing this? Like, you finally are number one and you're focusing on Kinect? Like, no, like, stop it, But, and big ups to Crybaby Blue 1234. Big ups. Thank you for joining the chat. But it is what it is. I'm sorry, I'm going to let you have the last word and then we're going to close out Knux.
No, we good here. We made our point, and if you like Sony games, I'm not gonna tell you not to go buy a PlayStation. If that's what you like, go for it. I'm gonna tell you why I enjoy Xbox and tell you my aspects. I still have my experiences with Sony, and if you want Sony, I'm not gonna tell you otherwise. You choose what you want to play. That's where it comes down to is we can offer opinions on what we have here and what our experience is, and you're free to make your decision. I'm not going to tell anyone not to go get whatever they want to play. Like you said, you're not going to recommend a Switch. Switch is great as a secondary console. It's fun to play. It's fun to play, have on the side. I enjoy the Switch. It definitely has its fun. And when you have a big group together, Nintendo's always been big party games. They still do to this day, and it works still to this day.
I just can't recommend it if you only had to pick one. No,
What?
I was so close to getting a Switch, but I was still short on my money for my Xbox One X, so I didn't get it. If I would have had my Xbox One X money sewed up, but what ate into my Xbox One X money was I had to go get a PlayStation 4 Pro. If I'd have never got that PlayStation 4 Pro, I'd have a Switch right now because I wanted that Zelda. You know what I mean? So as a second console, yeah, I totally agree. I was just saying in regards to it making it your main console. If you had to only pick one, I can't. Me personally, I can't recommend. I would never tell you not to get one, but I can't recommend Sony or Nintendo personally.
Yep, and I feel where you're coming from, and that's your personal opinion, and you're absolutely right to have that.
Yep. Alrighty, peoples. Well, thank you. That was another one. Thank you, Bloody Knux, for blessing us and gracing us with your presence. We had another fruitful discussion. Again, we cleared the air. Everybody know where we coming from. You know what I'm saying? And there's going to be dissension in the community, but it is what it is. Let's just have decent conversations and you know what I'm saying? Talk it out. All right. Chris is with me. He said if I can only pick one, it would be an Xbox just for me. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Everybody that was in the chat. Chris, you know what I'm saying? Crybaby Blue 1234, Austin Deaver. Who else? We had Cyrus Burke, Bloody Knuckles, Neverland. You know what I'm saying? Bloody Knuckles is in the thing too. Philosopher Doom. And that is it. Thank you, everybody. Oh, 6996 was here for a little bit. Appreciate all of y'all for joining us. And as always, hold on. Did we have one more chat? Okay, as always, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day.